the next speaker who came up with the idea of sending a convoy of aid to Gaza in a way which would capture international imagination and increase enormously the movement to free Palestine and to end the siege and the suffering in Gaza. And that man is George Galloway.
Thank you very much. As Kevin said right at the beginning, today is the anniversary of the massacre of thousands of Palestinian refugees in two camps in Beirut called Sabra and Shatila. It was not the first massacre of Palestinians, and it was not the last massacre of Palestinians. And we are leaving on the anniversary of that massacre, headed for an area where a more or less quieter massacre has been going on this last 4 years. The people of Gaza are besieged for no other reason than that their people voted in a democratic election for a party that Britain and America and Israel don't like. Well, if democracy means anything, it must mean that it's immoral, sinful, and illegal to starve people's children, to punish their parents for how they voted in a democratic election. As we leave here today from the shadow of the mother of all parliaments, we say that we are going to Gaza because we will not stand by. We will not walk by on the other side of the road whilst a massacre of the innocents takes place. This siege is starving people, depriving people of vitally needed medical aid and medicines. It's depriving children and students of educational materials. It's depriving those 72,000 householders whose homes were either destroyed or damaged in the so-called Operation Cast Lead over Christmas and New Year 2009-2010 from rebuilding their homes, from putting roofs back over their heads. Israel has said that it is relaxing the siege on Gaza. This is a lie. The only two things permitted now that were not permitted before this so-called relaxation, and I'm not making this up, is tomato ketchup and mayonnaise. These are the only two products now permitted, previously banned. You may well be asking yourself, what was so dangerous about ketchup and mayonnaise? The key point for me is that the people in Gaza, 80% of whom are unemployed, 80% of whom are living on $1 a day, cannot afford ketchup or mayonnaise in any case, cannot afford the very means of life. And we are not demanding any cosmetic relaxations in this siege. We are demanding the end of this siege. David Cameron, the Prime Minister of Britain, made an excellent speech in Turkey recently in which he referred to Gaza as, and I quote him, an open-air prison camp. Israel was very angry about this terminology, demanded that the British Prime Minister withdraw it. He refused to withdraw it. It is therefore the extant position of the British government. The question is what we're going to do to come to the aid of those being held illegally in an open-air prison camp. So far, the British government's words, whilst welcome, have not been matched in action, and we believe that action speaks louder than words. So we believe, on behalf of the decent majority of British people, we are going not just to deliver, by the end, when all three strands of the convoy come together, millions of dollars worth of aid. That's important, because to save the life of one person in all holy texts is the equivalent of saving the lives of all humanity. but because we want to draw attention in the world to the fact that this murderous siege is still there and the people are still suffering and dying. Now, Kevin mentioned the massacre in Sabra and Shatila. There was, of course, a recent massacre. It was the massacre of the humanitarian aid workers on board the Mavi Marmara. Kevin mentioned in passing, implicitly, that he was one of them. I think he is, in fact, the only person here today who was on board that ship, watching people to the left of him and to the right of him being shot down and killed, watching people being wounded in the scores, watching 10 people being killed, 9 dead, 1 brain dead, and then he himself, along with hundreds of others, taken in chains to an Israeli dungeon in the Negev desert, where they were robbed of all their possessions, their computers, their phones, their money, their clothes, even their underwear. Some of the stuff that was stolen by the Israeli security forces turned up on sale in Jerusalem just a few weeks ago, and the soldiers who were selling it have been arrested, though I don't expect the punishment will be condign. This massacre in international waters of the humanitarian aid workers on board the Mavi Marmara is another reason why we must travel again. Otherwise, we would be saying to the so-called Israeli regime that if you kill us, we will go away. Well, we say to Israel, we're not going away, we're coming back in ever greater numbers, and we'll keep coming back until Palestine is free. It hasn't been made explicit, maybe it's unwise to do so, but when we get on board that ship in Latakia, we will be sailing through the Mediterranean in international waters, and we will pass precisely the very point where the thugs of the so-called Israel Defense Force murdered these people, wounded so many, and illegally, illicitly captured hundreds more. That will be a poignant moment. We will pause at sea. We will cast flowers into the waters in memory of those who gave their lives, who shed their life's blood to try to relieve the siege on Gaza. And then we will sail on. And if David Cameron and his words mean anything, we demand the protection of the British government and the governments of the world in going about our lawful business in international waters. Britain has a big navy. So do the other countries represented here. They have powerful political and diplomatic missions, and they must now be informing so-called Israel that interference in this aid mission will not be tolerated by the governments of the world. We demand that they protect our lives and our mission. Lastly, I want to say this to the government of Egypt. We come in peace. We have no quarrel with you on this mission. We are ready to cooperate with you so that this mission can pass successfully. We have already altered our route in order to comply with your wishes. We come in peace, and we intend to pass. We ask the government of Egypt, whose great people we know are overwhelmingly, with all their hearts, behind this mission, to allow us freely and smoothly to pass. Many have asked about my own situation. As a matter of fact, legally, officially, I have never been deported from Egypt nor declared persona non grata. No document stating so has ever been given to me, and I'm glad about that. I don't want any separation from the people of Egypt. So I intend to be on the ship. If the Egyptian government does not wish me to enter Egyptian territory, and if they say so clearly, then I will not attempt to enter Egypt, because I don't want to prejudice in any way the safe passage of this convoy. But what I ask them now, and what I know public opinion throughout the world, and in particular the Arab and Muslim world, is asking them, please allow Viva Palestina 5 to pass freely through the gates of Rafah with all the aid that's been collected from around the world, to draw the international attention to the siege and to relieve the suffering of the Palestinian people. Godspeed, everyone now going on the mission. I'll join it tomorrow morning in Paris. The people here will be sleeping in vehicles, sleeping in tents. Their journey will be long and arduous. I hope you will remember them in your thoughts and your prayers. I hope you will fundraise to help fuel their passage and fill their vehicles with aid to the brim. And I hope that this is the last convoy that we have to organize to break the siege on Gaza. Wassalamu alaikum. Peace be with all of you. Thank you very much.